So in today's video, if you guys couldn't guess by the title, we will be reading only fantasy books this week, and I'm so freaking excited. I have been in a fantasy kick. I have some books that are on my October TBR that I've been waiting to read, and today's vlog we're going to do that. Originally this was going to be reading thrillers only, but I only have like one on my TBR for October, so I was like, let me focus just on the books on my TBR, and I was like, I have majority fantasy, I've got like 3 to 4 books, I might as well put it in a reading vlog for you guys. And yeah, I'm really excited just to get cozy, read some fantasy. But the first book we're going to be reading in this vlog is no other than The Ashes and the Star-Cursed King. So this is the second book in the Nightborn duology, and I'm so excited to get back into this world. If you guys didn't know, the first book is The Serpent and the Wings of the Night. It's basically about the human adopted daughter of a vampire king who goes to the vampire trials. They not trials, like a competition they do every year, and she forms an alliance with this guy called Rayan, and there's so much going on. It's a bit high stakes, if you like, stuff like Powerless, and let me try and think of other things that it link. I would say it's enemies to lovers basically. If you like enemies to lovers trope, slow burn, betrayal, this is it, and I'm so excited to get into the second book. So that is what we're going to be reading in today's video. I thought I would just film a little intro just to introduce the video, because I am going out, so I probably won't speak to you guys until later. I'll do proper reading until later, but I will be taking my Kindle with me because I've got the book on there to read, and because of how girthy it is. But this is going to be our first book we're going to read in this vlog. I'm super excited, and yeah, let's get started, and I'll speak to you guys in a bit. Update time. I have made a bit of progress in terms of The Ashes and the Star-Cursed King. I am just so happy to be back in the fantasy world, and I've been really enjoying the plot of this. So in the first book, as I mentioned, I'm just kind of like remembering a lot from like reading this book especially, but obviously in the first book we have Araya, and she is the adopted daughter of a vampire king, and every like 200 years or so there's a competition, and basically whoever wins this competition gets a gift from the goddess who they kind of like worship. And obviously amongst that, she decides to enter the competition. She meets Rayan, who is this turned vampire. They form this allegiance, and obviously this book is kind of following on from that and the events in the first book, and I'm really enjoying this one. Right now it's had like a bit of like traveling. We've had obviously picking off from what happened before. Rayan and Araya have now it's so hard, like I wouldn't call them enemies to lovers. Like she pretty much sees him as an enemy, but he like is infatuated with her, and he just feels really bad over everything that's happened in the first book. And I just think the connection between these two is chef's kiss, and even Araya and her discovering so much about herself now, and the stuff that we were exposed to in the first book, and the fact that she's not just a human daughter, she's also half a vampire, which I just thought was just chef's kiss, and I'm excited to see her journey on that. And just like these two just ooze chemistry together, but it's definitely very slow burn, and I'm enjoying that, and I'm enjoying the fantasy world. I really like the plot of the fact that obviously I don't know how to talk about this book without spoiling it, so I don't want to say too much, but I'm just saying that I'm really enjoying it and I'm really liking the plot. Currently I'm on chapter 31, page 252, so about 42% through, which is absolutely mad. I don't know how much that is in terms of the actual physical book, because obviously the book's like 700 pages. According to this, it says I'm actually 300 pages into the book, so I've actually read this much I don't know if you guys can see. Like, I think I'm having this bad habit at the moment where I just don't want to pick up a book. Not because I don't want to read, I just get distracted and do scrolling, so I'm trying to not do that. And I am really enjoying it and the plot so far. And I didn't realise, like, we've actually gone quite a way through the book. Like, even reading it now, we're 42% through the book. And this one's not as high stakes as the first book, but that makes sense, of course, basically because obviously the first book was introducing them. It was this whole big competition, so it's very high stakes. Whereas this is kind of following it. There's like an alliance going on. There's like, it's hard to talk about this book without mentioning any spoilers or DLs, but if you read the book, you know what I'm talking about. You know what would have happened around this mark anyway. And I'm just enjoying being back in this world specifically, and the vampires and the wings and all that stuff. Chef's kiss. So that is my update for now. I'm gonna carry on reading. I will probably speak to you guys when I'm in like the 50% mark. I will see you guys soon, but for now, let's get back to reading. She needs to be with you. Like, you're the only one she needs. And if she don't want to have you, I'll be happy to take over her spot. Filmed a whole clip, but I accidentally deleted it, so we're here to talk about the books all over again. So I'm gonna just whiz through this because I can't be asked to give a whole explanation now that I've deleted it. But I have finished the Ashes and the Star-Crossed, I can't even speak English now. We have finished the Ashes and the Star-Cursed King. I decided to give this book a 5 stars. This book was everything and more. The drama, the war, the angst, the slow burn, like everything that happened in the first book, the high tension, I felt it even in here. Like Rayan and Araya, like these two, no matter how much they tried to stay away from each other, like especially Araya as well, like she was trying to fight her feelings so badly for him after obviously everything that had happened in the first one. Whereas Rayan, like he's always wanted her and he's always wanted to be near her, and these two are just so perfect, and this book is so perfect, so I couldn't give it anything less than a 5 stars. I'm intrigued now to continue the rest of the series. This is the end of the duology, so the specific storyline of these two main characters, so we're gonna get a new set of main characters. But I just love this. I love the mix of, obviously we have slow burn, we have enemies to lovers, we have high stakes, we have a war, goddesses. I would say if you like Quicksilver, Heavenly Bodies, books like that, you would really love this. And I think this is a perfect mix of romance and fantasy. It is more obviously on the fantasy side, but it does have a romance subplot, obviously, of enemies to lovers. And when there is smart, I think there's only like 4 chapters of like smart, and I think I like that because it was placed when they most needed it, when they, for example, released feelings towards each other, finally admitted how they were feeling, stuff like that. It wasn't just thrown in there for the sake of it. It felt like they were very intentional. I felt like there's such badass moments, even like the ball, when they had like a little ball here to celebrate a wedding. Chef's kiss, literal chef's kiss. The built up intention, the little stolen moments, everything and more. So I absolutely loved this book, gave it a 5 stars, and I highly recommend it if you haven't read this series. And now I also started Bride by Ali Hazelwood. I'm only like 3 to 4 chapters in. I literally started it just before I went bed yesterday, but I am hoping to finish this weekend, and I think I'm gonna continue this vlog for another week because it is already Friday and I've only read 1 book. since you read it, and I spent half the time reading that book. So I definitely want to continue it because I have 2 other books as well that I have on my TBR for October. So I was like, might as well just continue this video and just carry on reading those books and give you guys more to like listen to and like review. So this is the book I'm currently reading. So this is a werewolf and vampire romance. So it is a arranged marriage between our female main character Misery and the main character, who's the alpha of his pack. I don't know his exact name because I wasn't really paying attention to his name, I can't lie. And right now we've just had it where it's that she jumped straight to the day where she's supposed to get married, and it's kind of working backwards. So it starts off with like the wedding day, she sees him at the altar, it kind of ends and they get married, and then it goes like a flashback to when she first finds out. And yeah, basically she is forced to marry the alpha of the werewolf clan, because obviously vampires and the werewolves, if you guys know, are not besties. So in order to stop war against each other, they've decided to do an arranged marriage. So that is basically the premise of this and Bride, I think you guys can guess. And I've heard great things about this. I'm not a huge fan of Ali Hazelwood. I have read a few of her books, but I think she's an easy reader. No, she's an easy author to read, and I think the books that you do read, you do have a good time reading it. I just think me specifically reading the stuff about science and that is not my idea of like fun and a cup of tea. But in terms of the actual romance and the development of romance, I think she does write romance really well. But I'm gonna carry on reading today, tonight, and then tomorrow. This weekend my plans is literally to do nothing, so I'm guessing that we're just gonna sit and read. I'm gonna have my candles on, we're gonna probably have like my tea this evening when I come back. I'm also making some banana bread and some lasagna soup. We're gonna get some PJs on and just have a nice cozy autumn weekend together in. So that's my plan. That is it for now, so enjoy. I'll see you guys very soon.
Tea faster. Love it. Why, Adams? You certainly know how to play with a crowd. Earning the portrait. Totally up your story. I see.
I am really enjoying this book. I'm thinking it's just very simple, it's very easy to follow. I can already predict what's gonna happen. I feel like it's one of those stories with Ali Hazelwood. Her storylines feel always predictable, but in a nice way, not in a way that's like boring. And I really like the way this is going. This one's fated mates, obviously it's enemies to lovers, it's also like werewolf versus vampire, arranged marriage, yada yada yada. And learning more about our 2 main characters, Lo, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, I think it's Lo or Lo, and Misery. We haven't really had much, I would say, like interaction between the 2 main characters. There's a lot of interaction between her and his sister Anna, and I think they're just so cute, especially for her like as a vampire. She comes across as very like morally grey. She doesn't really have many people that she is close with. Her best friend that she was close with went missing, so we've also got like, that plot line. That's the reason she agreed to arrange marriage, this werewolf alpha. And obviously she is getting part of this like pack, and obviously at first they're just very wary of her because obviously vampires and werewolves are not that close at all. But the way she has like become part of like this little family, you can definitely tell that there's something else going on that obviously she doesn't yet know. I think he's aware, but she doesn't yet know. And when we do get to that part, I think we're gonna get like more of a connection and development of their like story. But at the moment I'm not like too invested in the romance because I don't think there's much romance at the moment. There's not a lot of them being together and spending time together, which I would love to see more of. I think this is definitely more like a fantasy with a love plotline, even though like it's not even like a high stakes fantasy. It's quite an easy fantasy to get into. I feel like Ali Hazelwood, she does like fantasy which is like very YA, and it has very YA theme. There's not much to it, but obviously we are only to be fair, we are 163 pages into this book, not quite halfway, but I will probably be halfway very soon. My goal is to actually finish this book today, because yesterday I pretty much binged so much yesterday. I didn't really get much footage, but today as well I've binged a few chapters here and there. So I think my plan is just to sit, read. I've got the whole of the afternoon to just sit and read anyway. And yeah, there's not really much I can talk about at the moment in terms of the characters. I don't think there's much romance. Me personally, I don't see the hype in this. I can't lie. I can't be feeling like, I understand why people might like it, because it is very fast paced, it's very easy, it's quite a cozy read, but I'm not really invested in the romance at the moment. It's not even like I'm not invested in the two characters, it's just that we're getting more obviously Misery, which makes sense, she's like the main character, but like Lo, we don't really see much of him. I feel like we have him bits and pieces, but she spends more time with his sister than actually him, which I don't really like. What's the love story between? Is it between her learning to have like a mother instinct and like connect to like the little girl and just feel really connected to her like older sister, or is it her falling in love with this guy? I don't know, tell me. But I'm enjoying it. It's really easy to read. I think this is definitely a perfect book for like if you're in a book slump and you want something really easy, nothing to really think about, not really using much of a brain power. For now, I'm gonna carry on reading and I'll see you guys in a bit. I'm back, guys, and I have actually finished Bride. I just went ahead and carried on reading. I don't think I needed to give you guys another update on this book, but I am going to say that I did not enjoy this book as much as I wanted to. I do like Ali Hazelwood's writing, and I think that her stories are very easy to read, very fast paced. It doesn't take much brain power, but you can enjoy the journey. However, I just felt like this relationship went from 0 to freaking 100. I literally said that they hadn't had any moments together. I just felt like I couldn't see the chemistry. It's like, when's the romance gonna come in? And then it just, all of a sudden, the next chapter, things were happening and they were spending time together, and I was like, huh? We're 50% through this book and now these things are happening. And it just went from 0 to 100, like literally. It went from them barely spending any time together to spend time together, and then the smart. And I just felt like I was getting myself cringed out, and I just don't think the way she wrote the smart was very intimate. I don't know, like what they were doing is intimate, because obviously, as you know, the act of sex can sometimes be very intimate. However, the way she wrote about it, I can't lie, was cringy to me. And when things were happening, I was just like, and this ain't even my first book in like the Omegaverse. Like, I've read books in the past about werewolves and stuff like that, and I can't lie, they've also been cringy. So I'm not saying it's because of her and her writing. I just think that I didn't mesh well with this one personally. I know Mate, now reading this one, I know what the main characters are going to be for Mate, and I want to definitely still read that one, but I just don't think I'm fully invested as many people have seen. So in terms of rating, I've stuck between, I can't lie, 2.5 and a 3 stars. I want to round it up to a 3 stars because there were elements that I really liked. I liked kind of the mystery element, because obviously it's not just about two people that are forced to get married, one vampire, one werewolf and stuff like that, but it's also about she's trying to find out what happened to her friend that went missing, and then Lo is also trying to find out who is trying to betray the werewolves and stuff like that. And when we find out who is all behind this, it was very anticlimactic for me. It's not like I knew who it was going to be, but finding it out, I was just like, what point is this? And I would say that this book did hold my attention, the fact that I finished it pretty much in like a day and a half, but I just don't think I was fully invested in the characters. So that is my review of Bride. Right now I think I'm going to give myself a bit of a break. I made some banana bread, if I know where it is. Oh, it's here. I made some banana bread whilst I was listening to the audiobook of Bride, and she looks very orange. Like, she never looks this orange, but I think it's because of the cinnamon that I added. But I think I'm just gonna chill for this afternoon. Right now it's like 4 o'clock. Yeah, it's literally around 4 o'clock. The next book I will be reading in today's video is Immortal Dark by Tigris Grimmer, and this book is a black fantasy by a black POC author, and I am so freaking excited to be reading this book. This is a book that I've been waiting to read, and I have heard very mixed reviews about this book, but personally each book's to their own. Like, everyone's opinion is different and not everyone's opinion is going to be the same, and we should respect that. So I'm really super excited to read this for myself. I don't think I'm going to be starting it now because I just need a bit of a break from reading. And yeah, you were thinking a break from reading, but I just back to back, I feel like in Ashton Star Cooking and then to Bride, I felt like that was just back to back, whereas with this I want to give myself a bit of a break. I've got some editing to do, and yeah, so I think that is going to be my kind of update for now. In terms of Immortal Dark, I don't know much about it. All I know is about a girl who like decides to go to a university to find out about her brother or something like that. Let me read this. Oh, when her sister June disappears, Kidden is convinced a vampire stole her. The very vampire bound to their family, the cruel yet captivating Sizinius Sadat. I need to figure out how to say that name properly. It says, to find her sister, Kidden must infiltrate the elite Uxley University and survive, living with Sizinius, even as he does everything he can to drive her away. So I'm guessing maybe she's not a vampire then. Orphaned heiress Kidden grew up far from the hidden society she was born into, where human bloodlines gain power through vampire companionship. Okay, this book's giving me a bit of what's that? It's the Vampire Academy. I don't know why my brain froze. I don't know why. This book's giving me a bit of vibes of that. I'm not sure. I'm guessing it's going to be like an enemies to lovers plotline, vampires. And I actually had a realization when I was picking this book up that all the books I've read so far in this video has been vampire centered, and that is not intentional. I just have picked books that are fantasy and they just seem to be vampires, and I'm not moaning because I do love vampires. Like, I love the Vampire Diaries and the originals. Like, they're my favourite kind of mystical creature, vampires. So I'm excited to get into this book. It sounds very intriguing. I feel like it's going to be very entertaining. I like the universal tea like setting. I think it's going to be grand. So that is going to be the next book I'm going to read, but I'm going to start it probably this evening once I've had dinner, get cozy in my bed with a candle. I think that's going to be the best time to do it. I need a bit of a break to do some editing and other bits, but I'm going to stop yapping. I'm going to do what I need to do, and I will speak to you guys later once I have started Immortal Dark. Hi guys, I'm just here to give you guys an update on Immortal Dark. I have it here. I've also been reading it on my Kindle. I'm on chapter 28, page 151, around 40% through this book, and I'm actually really enjoying this book. So we have our main character Keaton, and basically she is on parole for murder. Her sister is missing, and she thinks she has been taken by vampires. And in this world, there's basically like this vampire academy which have like different houses, and so surrounding it's like 8 different families, and 8 different families, like human families, have a set of like vampires that are like attached to them, and these vampires can only feed on them. They can't feed on anyone else, it can only feed on them. And in order to find out what has happened to her sister, she has to agree to basically attend this school in order to get ownership of the house. So there's a house which her family was brought up in. Her aunt basically raised her and her 2 sisters separately, and basically she has to return back there and take ownership of it. But we have our main character, Sinios. I don't know if I'm saying his name correctly. He's basically a vampire that lives in that house. He's basically the house vampire for that house. And she has to basically live with him, and she doesn't like him. She thinks that he has a part to play in her sister's disappearance, and it's basically that and her trying to make her way through this college and like pass it. In order to have ownership of the house, she has to graduate and pass the courses. So that's kind of the premise of this book. I am really enjoying it. It has been taking me like a few days to like sit and read it. Not that I'm not interested in it. I didn't read any reading yesterday, but I did reading the day before, and then obviously now. And as I said, we're about 40% through the book. I like the pacing of it. I think it's moving quite fast paced. You can definitely tell that these 2 are enemies. Like, these 2 just get on each other's nerves. Obviously she thinks that he has a part to play in her sister's disappearance, so she doesn't like him. He doesn't like her because obviously he wants the ownership of the house because her mum died, her aunt died, and it's literally just left to her. She's the next one in the line to inherit it, and obviously he actually wants to have it, and obviously if she hadn't come then he would be able to get it. So obviously there's that tension between them, and it's very much giving Vampire Academy, but like so much enemies to lovers. So far we haven't really had the love part of it, so I'm interested to see if we ever have that. I don't know if this book is seen as a romance. It might just be a fantasy that involves like enemies. So that is kind of what's happening at the moment, and it's safe to say that I am actually really enjoying it. The plot, the atmosphere of like the Vampire Academy, university, the different houses, so different houses for like different families. So it's based off like their surnames, and it goes back like hundreds of years between the vampires and humans, so they kind of like live together. So that is the premise of the book. That is what I'm feeling at the moment. That's my update for now. I'm going to carry on reading, and I will hopefully speak to you guys maybe in the evening once I've done a little bit more reading.
In the corner of the crowded room.
Hi guys, so I have finished Immortal Dark. I actually finished it this morning, but I didn't film anything because I just wanted to just carry on reading. But we have finished, and what an ending. So obviously this whole mystery about where her sister's been, we kind of find out what has actually happened. And let's just say Kadan's feeling very betrayed. She does not even know what she's going to be doing next, but her action plan is obviously gone a bit weird. We've learned a little bit more about the Nistafari, I don't know if I'm saying that correctly, them and the 13th. So we've learned more about those secret societies, but I never expected it to progress the way it did. But I really enjoyed reading this book. I think of rating, I'm going to give it a 4 stars. The only reason it's not more than 4 stars is because at times I felt like I was a bit confused with the plot and some of the terminology, but that's more on me. And I just think think at times as well, the characters were very immature, and I was just really surprised the fact that this is a YA. It didn't feel like a YA to me, especially with the gore. In terms of mature content, I definitely think it is more of a YA, but in terms of the actual gore and stuff like that, or there was like one or two scenes, like a scene that happened where he bites a certain part of her body, and I'm just like, I was a bit like, is this hot or is it just concerning? And yeah, it feels very interesting to read. I will say that. I would think other people have like downplayed it, but I think for a debut book, like this author, this is her first ever book, I don't think it deserves like such a lower rating than what it actually is. So I think I'm gonna settle on a 4 stars. But I just think it was just really fun when I was reading it. I loved the black vampires in a school, and the whole, I don't know, the status quo of that school, and like the relationship between the vampires and the humans. In this book, they're referred to as different terminology. So the vampires' name is Drentics, I think their names are. That's how they're referred to. And then the humans are named Utkus, I think. And yeah, I think this book is very interesting in terms of how she's put obviously black people into like a vampire fantasy world, which I actually love. I think I saw a TikTok that really much summed it up, because I'm so used to reading fantasy that had white characters. When the author mentioned his brown skin and stuff like that, I completely forgot that literally all the characters are black, and I actually love that, and I think I definitely want to read more black fantasy especially. So yeah, this book made me really excited. I am definitely planning to read the next book. I found out from like searching as well that this book is going to be turned into a trilogy, and it's been now taken from Hatchet, so it's going to be traditionally published. So I'm excited to that, and I definitely highly recommend reading this if you like fantasy. And I think this is definitely very high fantasy. There are some complex things happening, but once you wrap your head around that, I think you understand a little bit more. The characters are very relatable. Obviously a lot of people didn't like Kadan. They felt like she was very erratic and just was mad, but I think if my sibling went missing, as I was saying before, I would like basically beware for me, because I'll be out looking for revenge. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. That is my final rating for this book, but we have finished all the books for now. I am, as I said, not going to be reading the last book in this vlog, but you guys will see it probably in a wrap up. But I hope you guys enjoyed reading some fantasy reads for me. I think it's perfect because Halloween is actually next week, and I'm hoping to actually read some more like Halloween-y fall books next week anyway, so you guys will probably see that in a vlog. But I just enjoy just sitting down and reading fantasy, and just dedicating the next like the last like a week and a half just reading fantasy, because I don't read that as often. And I definitely am really excited to continue reading fantasy all through autumn and winter. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did, make sure you give it a like, a comment and a subscribe. I'm so sorry I've been posting very roguely. I've just been really struggling when it comes to filming and making content. I think the last quarter of the year is where I struggle the most. But I'm hoping 2026 we're going to be on our A game, back to consistency, and this year was just me really finding my style, which I think I have done. So it's just about not putting that much pressure on myself, and less pressure I put on myself, the better the content's going to be, and more likely I'm going to be consistent as well. So yeah, that is going to be it. I'm going to stop yapping because you guys know that I can yap for Britain. I will see you guys all in the next video. Stay blessed, and as I always say, I love you all. I'll see you guys very soon.